Hi RtCW mappers. Today's lecture we're diving into the world of textures and shaders. Textures are essentially images that add color and detail to surfaces in the game. Shaders, on the other hand, are text files that control how these textures appear in-game, influencing everything from lighting and shadows to effects like transparency, wave motions. I'll show you that towards the end of the video. How to organize your folders and files. Let's start by talking about organizing your mapping files. It can be approached in several ways. I decided to focus on a method that I think is beginner-friendly. Primary location. Create and store all necessary files in users, your username, documents, RealRTCW 4.0/main, like I've done in the previous RtCW mapping videos. In this video, we'll create two new folders, textures and scripts. Textures is for the images. Scripts is for the shaded text file, and I'll explain more about these folders shortly. Duplication. Copy the texture and scripts folders, along with their contents, to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, RealRTCW main. This step is crucial as it allows the level editor to find and utilize these files. Consistent updates. As time goes on and you continue working on your mapping project, it's important to keep your files up to date in both locations. Each time you make changes to the textures and scripts folders, you must update these changes in two places: Users, Documents, and Steam Apps. This ensures that both your folders have the latest updates, helping your mapping process run smoothly. Preparation for packaging and shipping. When it's time to finish your project and share your map with the world, everything you need will already be organized in users, your username, document /RealRTCW 4.0/main. Time to create your first texture. There's a lot to discuss, but let's start by creating simple textures without shaders. This will introduce you to the basic process of texture creation. Start by creating a new folder named Textures here in your User Documents folder. Then inside that texture folder, create yet another new folder, this time with your map's name. And my map is called Genesis. I've already created 3 excellent textures and they go into this new folder with my map's name. Please look at the file names and note that I avoid spaces and I use lowercase letters. This method originated from the early days of computers, when spaces in file names could disrupt commands, and lowercase letters ensured smooth operation across different systems. Although it might not always be necessary, I continue to use this method out of habit. Additionally, I opted to create my textures in the Targa or TGA file format, which was widely used in the original game from 2001. It's also possible to use the JPEG file format, which, as you know, saves memory space. However, some believe that Targa images just look better in RtCW. When creating new textures, it's crucial to size them according to powers of 2, such as 16, 32, 64, 128, etc. Common texture sizes in the original game include 128 by 128 pixels, 256 by 256, and 512 by 512. Textures don't need to be square. For example, a 128 by 256 pixel texture will work perfectly fine. In fact, my 3 textures for this video are not squared. The brick wall texture is 1024 by 512. The horizontal brick border is 1024 by 128. The vertical brick border is 128 by 1024 pixels. It's time to create your first shader. Create a new folder named Scripts here. Users, your username, documents, RealRTCW 4.0, main, scripts. Inside it, create a new text file. It will be your shader. In my example, I've used the simplest type of shader command, and it looks like this. A shader consists of surface attributes and rendering instructions, formatted within curly braces. The light map command tells the game how to give the texture shadows and highlights to give the texture a realistic look. The RGB gen identity tells the game not to change the original colors of the texture. The path points to the actual image file used. Finally, those blend func commands controls how the texture blends with any other light. So this is the most basic shader. A new texture doesn't necessarily require a shader script. It's not an absolute must. It will be enough just to use the Targa or JPEG file as it is. The game will apply this basic shader automatically. But I added it here in this tutorial to teach you what a shader is and what it could look like. We will come back to this shader towards the end of the video to change or add something, just to experiment. Save this text file into the folder. It's important that the file name is unique, for example, your map file's name. It's equally important that you change the file extension from .txt to .shader. And in my example, my shader is genesis.shader. Now it's time to duplicate the texture and shader folders. So go to user, your username, documents, RealRTCW 4.0/main. Copy the entire texture folder and its content. Go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, RealRTCW, main, and paste the texture folder and its content there. Next, go to the user documents folder and copy your shader file. In my example, it's genesis.shader. Go to Steam, Steam Apps, Common, RealRTCW, main, and there's already a folder there named Scripts. Open it, and you'll see a file named shaderlist.txt. Paste your script into this folder. In summary, you want to have the two files, shaderlist.txt and your shader, inside this folder. Finally, open the shaderlist.txt file and add the shader's name to the list without the extension .shader. In my example, I just add the word Genesis. Time to launch the level editor. In a previous RtCW mapping video, I mentioned that the level editor always reads the shader list when it starts up. So let's launch the editor and our test map, Genesis. Click the View button and make sure that it says Show Shader and Show Textures. I locate my shader, Genesis, and double-click on it. My 3 textures are there, so let's use them in the map. Build to compile the map. Create the bot files. Run RealRTCW. Yeah, it looks okay. Back to the shader, just for the fun of it. Let's add 2 commands. tcmod scroll, which gives the texture a scroll effect, and tcmod turb, which adds a waving effect. And now this is important. Remember what I told you earlier. Since you have been tinkering with the shader file, don't forget to update in both places, in Steam apps and in user documents. You need to keep everything synchronized. Start the editor. Everything looks the same if you press Shift on your keyboard and simultaneously click the image in the texture window. You'll see a copy of the shader. We can verify that it is the latest version of the walls shader, with the tcmod scroll and the tcmod turb. Compile the map. Create the 2 bot files. Run the mod RealRTCW. You get seasick from watching this. Let's remove those 2 lines from the shader. Once again, don't forget to update the shader in both places. I know it's going to be tiresome to keep updating in 2 places, but I think this is a beginner-friendly way of doing it. Now let's restart the map, just to check everything. It looks like everything is back to normal. Folder and file recap. Before I end this lengthy video, let's go over the folders and files. The AI script and the brush script are stored in the maps folder, while the shader script is kept in the scripts folder. I know this might seem a bit confusing. You might wonder, why aren't all 3 scripts stored together in one folder named scripts? I'm far from an expert, but my theory is that the separation of scripts into different folders like maps and scripts has practical origins. Historically, game development tools probably evolved to manage assets efficiently, with the folder maps typically housing scripts related to level design, and the folder scripts for graphical elements. So my argument is that this distinction helps in streamlining the development process, allowing different teams like bot programmers and graphic designers to work more efficiently without interfering with each other's files. Good luck with your textures and shaders. Thumbs up, share the video, or write a comment.